She put the gun in the car. The gun, she saw her? This girl right here. She saw her. She saw her. She put the gun in the car. She put the gun in the car. The gun is in the car.
The morning started like any other for thousands of parents across Chicago. Kids rushing out of cars, backpacks bouncing, teachers waving at the school doors. But in the middle of that normal, everyday routine, something happened that would shake an entire community. And honestly, even as I'm telling you this, it still feels unreal. How does a simple school drop-off end with a mother lying on the pavement, fighting for her life? Before we get into it, if you're new here, this is Homeny Crime. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you never miss stories like this. Trust me, this case, you'll want to stay till the end. So, let's talk about Romeca Meeks. A 31-year-old mother, full of life, full of love, full of plans she would never get the chance to live out. People close to her described her as the kind of woman who didn't just show up for her son, she showed up for everyone. She had this warm, caring energy that made you feel safe. She dreamed about becoming a nurse someday, and she was actually working toward it. And like many single mothers, she did what she had to do, juggling responsibilities, trying to build a better future for her little boy. She wasn't perfect, but she was trying, and she was present. That morning, she woke up like any mother wanting her child to have a good day. She packed his lunch, tucked a little handwritten note inside, one of those sweet, uplifting messages that moms give their kids without knowing it'll end up being the last thing they ever write. And when she dropped him at school, she hugged him goodbye, probably thinking she'd see him later that afternoon. She had no idea that within minutes, everything would change. Now, this is where things start to get tense. After the drop-off, Romeca saw someone she recognized. Not a stranger. Someone tied to a complicated part of her life, a woman named Khadijah Johnson. Both women shared a connection to the same man, and if you know anything about human relationships, especially ones with history, emotion, and conflict, you know how quickly things can get messy. And on this day, something ignited. Witnesses say a verbal argument started between them. You know how fast words can spiral, especially when there's hurt behind them. Imagine the tension in that moment. The school just a few feet away. Parents still walking by. Cars idling. And right there, two women with so much unresolved between them. But the argument didn't stay verbal. It escalated. People who were there said it turned physical. They saw grabbing. They saw struggling. And nobody could have predicted what would happen next. Because in a flash, this wasn't just an argument anymore. It became something far darker. Something irreversible. People nearby said they saw the struggle getting worse, and honestly, imagine being there. Imagine watching an argument happening right in front of you and not knowing whether to step in or stay back. Most people probably thought it would end the way most arguments do, loud voices, maybe some pushing, and everyone eventually cooling off. But this wasn't one of those moments. This was something that had been boiling long before that day. As the tension rose, another piece of the story becomes important, the man both women were connected to. Witnesses say he was there too, and that he even grabbed Romeca from behind during the fight. Imagine the chaos of that, two women arguing, emotions exploding, and then someone suddenly pulling one of them back. That alone could make anyone panic. And in that panic, clarity disappears. Judgment disappears. Only raw emotion is left. And in that heated, volatile moment, Khadijah walked to her car. Now, if you're listening to this, I want you to think about how fast situations can change. 1 second it's yelling. The next second someone is reaching for something they should have never brought into the picture. Witnesses said she opened her car door, reached inside, and came back with a gun. Let that sink in. A gun. In the middle of a school zone. After a school drop-off. With children and parents still around. It's one of those decisions that takes a moment to make but destroys multiple lives instantly. People on the scene froze. Some backed away, unsure of what they were really witnessing. Was she going to threaten Romeca? Was she trying to scare her? Or was she ready to pull the trigger? Nobody knew, until they heard it. The sound of a gunshot cutting through the morning air. Then another. Then another. In seconds, everything changed. Parents ducked. Some screamed. Others grabbed their kids. And right there on the pavement, Romeca fell. Shot in the face, according to investigators. The same face her son kissed that morning before walking into school. The same face she had smiled with as she slipped that note into his lunchbox. The same face that carried her warmth, her love, her identity. When first responders arrived, they did everything they could. They rushed her to Stroger Hospital. And I wish I could tell you she survived. I wish this was one of those stories where someone pulled through against the odds. But she didn't. Her injuries were too severe. That moment took her life, just like that. A mother, gone. A child, suddenly without the most important person in his world. And for what? A fight. A moment of anger that turned into something permanent. And here's something that really shakes people. Witnesses told investigators that after the shooting, the man and Khadija were seen fist-bumping. Can you imagine the outrage? The confusion? The grief? It's something that has stuck with the community, and honestly, it sticks with anyone who hears it. When news of the shooting spread, it wasn't just another headline. It wasn't one of those stories you scroll past because it feels distant. This one hit people hard, especially mothers. Especially families who saw themselves in Romeca. She wasn't somewhere she wasn't supposed to be. She wasn't out late. She wasn't involved in anything criminal. She was doing what millions of parents do every single morning, dropping her child off at school. Something so ordinary, so innocent, so routine, and yet it ended in the most tragic way. Her family was shattered. Her mother, Tina, described her as a bright, loving daughter who didn't deserve what happened. And you know when a mother speaks about losing her child? There's a pain in her voice you can't ignore. One that isn't just sadness, it's heartbreak mixed with disbelief, mixed with anger, mixed with the weight of knowing nothing will ever bring her baby back. And think about her son. That little boy had no idea he was giving his mom her last hug that morning. No idea that the note in his lunchbox would be the last message she ever gave him. When the family talked about that note, people online broke down. They shared it everywhere. Because it wasn't just a note anymore. It became a symbol of a mother's final act of love. A reminder that life can flip in seconds. While her family mourned, police started piecing the story together. They questioned witnesses, reviewed surveillance footage, and tried to understand how an argument could turn deadly so fast. Remember, the woman accused of shooting Romeca, Khadija, didn't run. She stayed there. She claimed self-defense. But prosecutors later said the evidence didn't line up with that claim. And here's where things get even more complicated. According to court records, there had been previous tension between the two women. Words exchanged. A protective order involved. You know how people say, you never really know what someone is going through behind closed doors? This is a perfect example. This wasn't a random act. This was years of unresolved issues that finally exploded. But even with all that history, the public couldn't accept the idea of bringing a gun to a school zone argument. Especially not when the victim had already been held back during the fight. Especially not when multiple shots were fired. So, the pressure to charge someone was intense. And eventually, months later, the police announced that Khadija was officially charged with first-degree murder. When that news dropped, the community felt a mix of relief and anger. Relief because there was movement. Anger because it took so long. And then there was confusion, because the man who was allegedly involved in holding Romeca during the fight wasn't charged at that time. People wanted answers. They wanted accountability. They wanted to understand how so many adults could let things escalate to this point. And honestly, when you look at the whole situation, you can't help asking yourself, how many warning signs were missed? How many chances did fate give for someone to walk away, calm down, breathe, and avoid tragedy? As the case unfolded, more details started to surface, and honestly, the deeper you go, the more your heart sinks. Because this wasn't just one bad moment. This was a storm that had been brewing for a long time. People close to Romeca talked about how she had been trying to protect her peace, trying to stay focused on her son, and trying not to get dragged into drama. But life doesn't always let you choose your battles. Sometimes the battle comes to you, even when you're doing everything you can to avoid it. Community members who knew both women started sharing little pieces of the past, arguments, tension, jealousy, frustration. Not unusual in situations where relationships overlap. But still, nothing that should end with someone losing their life. And that's the part that leaves people shaking their heads. How does something that could have been handled with distance, communication, or even law enforcement end in gunfire? Police interviews revealed that both women felt threatened by each other at different points. It wasn't one-sided. But there's a big difference between feeling threatened and deciding to reach for a gun. And that's where the weight of responsibility comes in. That moment, that decision to walk to the car, reach inside, and come out with a weapon, that's what changed everything. That was the line that once crossed, there was no going back. Meanwhile, as investigators built the case, they reviewed surveillance footage from around the scene. They interviewed multiple witnesses who saw the argument, the physical confrontation, and the shooting. And something you'll hear repeated in almost every report is this: nobody expected it to escalate the way it did. People said they froze. Parents said they grabbed their kids and ran. One witness said they'll never forget the sound of those gunshots echoing between the buildings. Then there's the emotional part people don't talk about enough: the children who were nearby. Kids walking into school. Kids who heard or saw parts of what happened. Kids who had no idea why adults were suddenly screaming, ducking, or running. That kind of trauma sticks. And to think it happened at a place meant to be safe, that hits differently. Romeca's family started asking questions immediately. Why did it take months before charges were filed? Why did the case feel stuck? Why wasn't the father involved in the fight charged too? They wanted the truth. They wanted justice. And they wanted the world to know that Romeca wasn't just a woman in a headline, she was a mother, a daughter, a friend, and someone who deserved better. And when the charges finally came, there was a sense of both relief and heartbreak. Relief that the system was moving. Heartbreak that none of it would bring her back. Her mother said she hoped the trial would finally reveal everything that happened that morning, from the first word spoken, to the last second of Romeca's life. Because families of victims don't just want punishment. They want clarity. They want answers. But even as the legal process began, people couldn't help wondering, what was really going through the minds of everyone involved that morning? What combination of emotion and frustration made someone choose violence over walking away? As the investigation continued, something unexpected happened that completely shifted the tone of the case. Prosecutors revealed that the self-defense story didn't line up with the evidence. They said Romeca wasn't attacking anyone when the shots were fired. They said she wasn't charging anyone. Instead, according to the reports, she was already being held back during the fight. That changed everything. Because if someone is restrained, what threat are they posing? And that's the moment the public realized this wasn't just a heated argument gone wrong. It might have been a decision made in anger, not survival. Then came the detail that shocked people even more. Surveillance footage and witness accounts suggested that after the shooting, the man at the center of the conflict and Khadija bumped fists. Let that sink in. In a moment when a woman lay dying on the ground, two people connected to the fight shared a gesture that looked disturbingly casual. And people have been arguing about that ever since. Was it real? Was it misinterpreted? Was it adrenaline? Was it something darker? That tiny moment became one of the most talked about parts of the case. As the case now moves through the courts, people are still trying to understand the deeper emotional and psychological layers here. What makes someone feel so threatened by another person, emotionally, romantically, personally, that they reach a point of no return? What makes someone ignore every chance to walk away? And honestly, what makes bystanders freeze instead of stepping in? These questions linger because they reveal something uncomfortable. Sometimes tragedies aren't sudden. Sometimes they're the final chapter of a story nobody chose to stop. Romeca's loved ones are still fighting for her. They're attending court dates, talking to the media, keeping her name alive, making sure her story doesn't get buried under newer headlines. Her mother talks about her with so much love, you can hear the pain in every word. And her son, growing up without his mom, that's the part that twists your heart the most. He didn't just lose a parent. He lost the safest place he'll ever know. And the twist here isn't just in the evidence. It's in the reminder that sometimes the most dangerous moments aren't in dark alleys or late-night streets. They're in broad daylight, in places we think are safe, around people we think we know. The twist is that the biggest threats in life sometimes come from people closest to us. So now let me ask you, as we close this case together, what do you think drives a person to cross that final line? Is it jealousy? Anger? Fear? Pride? Or something deeper that none of us ever really see coming? If you had been standing there that morning, what do you honestly think you would have done? And how many tragic moments in life could be avoided if just one person stepped back, breathed, and chose peace? Thank you for watching Homeny Crime. If you found this case important, heartbreaking, or eye-opening, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you never miss another story. Your support helps us keep telling the stories that deserve to be heard.